raindrops falling, even when the sun don't shine. I got faith in you and I. So put your pretty little hand in mine. Even when we're down to the wire, babe. Even when it's do or die. We can do it, baby, simple and plain. This love is a sure thing.
You could bet that, never gotta sweat that. You could bet that, never gotta sweat that. You could bet that, never gotta sweat that. You could bet that, never gotta sweat that.
Be the love, I be the fire, babe. If I'm the blunt, you could be the lighter, babe. Fire it up, writer, baby, you could be the quote. If I'm the lyric, baby, you could be the note. Chord that saint, I'm a sinner. Prize, I'm a winner, and it's you. What did I do to deserve that? Paper, baby, I be the pen. Say I am the one, cause you are a 10. Really not pretend. Even when the sky gets falling, even when the sun don't shine, I got faith in you and I. So put your pretty little hand in. Even when I'm down to the wire, baby. Even when it do or die. We can do it, baby, simple and plain.
You could bet that, never gotta sweat that.
Rock with me, babe. Let me hold you in my arms, talk with me, babe. Yeah. And rock with me, babe. Let me hold you in my arms, talk with me, babe. Yes, sir. Between you and I, it's simple as pie, baby. It's such a sure thing, such a sure thing. Always such a sure thing, such a sure thing. Respect you like a lover.
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They try to knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now.
Hey, everybody.
Cutting through the darkest night of my two headlights, trying to keep it clear, but I'm losing it here to the twilight. There's a dead end to my left, there's a burning bush to my right. You aren't in sight, you aren't in sight. You want me like I want you, or am I standing still beneath the darkened sky? Or am I standing still with the scenery flying by? Or am I standing still out of the corner of my eye? Was that you passing me by? Mothers on the stoop, boys in souped up coops on this hot summer night. Between fight and flight is the blind man's side, and the choice that's right. I wrote down, feel broken down, I feel broken down. Do you need me? sorrow is a call tomorrow. Do love me like I love you, or am I standing still beneath the darkened sky? Or am I standing still with the scenery flying by? Or am I standing still out of the corner of my eye? Was that passing me by? Are you passing me by? Passing me by. Want me? Passing me by. Do you need me like I need you to? And do you want me like I want you? Are you passing me by? Or am I standing still?
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They try to knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now.
Hey, everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. And hey, yeah, I know what you're going through. Don't let it get the best of you. You'll make it out alive. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us.
Hey, this is not a funeral. It's a revolution after all. Your tears have turned into rage. Just wait. Everything will be okay. Even when you're feeling like you're going down in flames. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom.
We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. They can't do nothing to you, they can't do nothing to me. This is the life that we choose, this is the life that we lead. So throw your fists in the air, come out if you dare. Tonight we're gonna change forever. Everybody loses it.
Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes.
Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten.
Turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us.
It's UUCC Zoom-In Live with special guests Laurie Albright and Mike Miller. Here's your host, David Kantor, with co-host Will Barrett.
Hey, everybody, good evening. Well, here we are, episode 8 of UUCC Zoom-In Live. We're glad you're with us tonight and that you chose to watch us instead of watching the Browns on Monday Night Football. Yes. So if you're enjoying yourself, please let your UUCC friends know about this. The more the merrier. So here we are, 5th night of Hanukkah, 11 days from Christmas, 12 days from the start of Kwanzaa. I don't celebrate that one, but I do celebrate both of the others. And the gifts have already been flying around my family. Now, I know these are difficult times, and basically it's in our minds, the holidays are more than just a time to share gifts, but we are intent on being mindful and thankful for all the blessings in our lives. So as Carol has already mentioned to you, a quick reminder, please use the chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen to announce yourselves. Make sure you're sending it to everybody and not just the panelists, okay? Your fellow congregants want to know that you're here. That smiling face you see on the screen with me is Will Barrett, one of my co-hosts. So Will,
hello,
how are you
everyone.
doing this evening?
I'm feeling pretty good this evening.
So Will, where are you? Are you in Cleveland, California? Where are you tonight?
Oh, California. I wish I was there, but I'm currently in Kent, Ohio. You know, it's last semester. So, well, the end of the semester, I should say.
Yeah, not your last. Yeah, you're wishing it's your last semester. You got a ways to go yet.
I wish.
So Will, I have a question for you. So, you know, some of you who follow this show know that Will came back to Cleveland. Will goes to Kent State University. He came back to Cleveland for Thanksgiving, and he brought his girlfriend with him. It was like a guest who's coming to dinner with his family. So, Will, how did that go, bringing your girlfriend to dinner with your family?
Well, first of all, congregation, say hello to my girlfriend. This is Salote. She's not paying any attention.
Well, yeah, she shouldn't be.
But dinner actually went very well, you know. My family really took a liking to her, especially my sister. My sister latched on to her like that. The whole family just really liked her, and we had a very good time.
That's great. So what's going on with school? So how much more classes do you have? You're still doing it all electronically, I understand. So how's all that working out?
Well, it's finals week. So
this is finals week?
Fun. This is finals week. December 18th is the official last day of school for Kent.
So you're doing this show with us tonight. You don't have any finals tomorrow, please. Tell me that.
Oh, no. Most of my classes are asynchronous. So my finals pretty much just happen when they happen.
Okay. So some people are already telling you good luck. And believe me, Mary, Will will need that, but never mind. So Will, how well do you know Billy Joel's music? How up on you on Billy Joel music?
It's funny you ask that. So you're familiar with cons, you know, Liz used to sponsor me and my siblings.
Yep.
Piano Man used to be one of the very popular songs at con, you know.
Oh,
that's what all the UU kids like to dance to.
So one of my favorite Billy Joel songs is a song called The Longest Time. And apparently some other folks think that song's a really good song also. And they gave it a bit of a COVID twist. So Will and everybody else, check this song out, please.
One, two, three, four.
I have been at home in quarantine, stopping spread of COVID-19.
So that was the Phoenix Chamber Choir with the COVID version of The Longest Time. So I got to give a special shout out to Kathleen Binnig, who originally shared this with my wife, Mary Ellen McNulty. And Mary Ellen said it was really cool, shared it with me, and I thought you'd all want to see it as well. So thank you, Kathleen. Now, Will, how'd you like that one? That one okay?
That was pretty fun. I enjoyed it.
Pretty fun. Yeah. So for everybody else, if you've been here with us before, thanks for coming back. If this is your first time with us, we're glad you're here. We hope that being with us every couple of weeks becomes part of your routine. Oh, and a special note, if you missed a past show and want to check it out, the episodes are now up on our UUCC YouTube channel. So you can check it out if you wish. There's one episode missing I have to do a little work on still. Future episodes will be posted after the following episode airs. So you'll be able to see this one online in 2 weeks and a day. So let's move on. As many of you know, we've established a Jack Ullman comedy moment where we hear some jokes from Jack. So let's be clear here. Jack thought he could be rid of us tonight by traveling to Florida. But I reminded him about the wonders of Zoom. So coming to us from the wilds of North Carolina en route to Florida is Jack Ullman. Jack, you're up. What do you got?
Good evening, David and Will. I'm coming to you from beautiful Statesville, North Carolina, on my way to Florida, or as the locals call it, God's waiting room. I know you have Laurie Albright and Mike Miller on tonight talking about the ministerial search. You know, I heard Harry Reasoner speak at the opening of Tri-C West years ago. He told a story about his father, a Lutheran minister. He was noted for his long sermons. One Sunday morning, as he pontificated, he checked his watch, which had stopped running. He asked the congregation if anyone had the time. A wit from the back of the church called out, "No, but there's a calendar behind you." This drive long distance reminds me of a fellow who is heading home on I-90. His wife calls in panic and says she's heard a news flash that a car was heading in the wrong direction on 90. He says, "One car, there are hundreds of them." I can't say that I'm aging well. I don't look too good, but a girl I used to date has decided she's going to keep getting facelifts until her ears meet. I prefer Woody Allen's plan. He says that he doesn't want to achieve immortality through his work. He wants to achieve it through not dying. And speaking of death, a lady in my condo building has buried 3 husbands, and 2 of them were just napping. I've heard that regular naps prevent old age, especially if you take them while driving. By the way, did you hear that Finland has closed its borders because of the virus? Now no one will be able to cross the finish line. So many coronavirus jokes out there. It's a pandemic. I predict that there will be a minor baby boom in 9 months due to this virus. And in 13 years, we'll have a whole bunch of quarantines. Well, that's it for me. But always remember Aldous Huxley's motto, always dream in a pragmatic way. Back to you, David and Will.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you very much. A knee slapper, indeed.
So we've got a little bit of a different show for you tonight. we're actually going to spend a bit of time talking about a topic of significance to our congregation. That is our search for a new minister. So our guests tonight, without a long intro about their bios, because that would take up the rest of the show, are Laurie Albright and Mike Miller, who are the co-chairs of the Ministerial Search Task Force. So everybody, take yourselves off of mute and give a warm UUCC welcome to Laurie and Mike.
Yay!
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 So guys, we're very thankful that you're here with us this evening. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing good here.
Yeah, doing great.
That was
Good to hear.
really said positively and with a lot of
Fine.
That's so good. This is going to be a great interview already. I can feel it in my bones.
The energy's building.
David and Will, isn't this the first time you've had two guests on?
This is
I
our,
think so.
there's no pressure on us. It's our first time where basically we do not outnumber our guests. That is true.
We got this though. You guys don't intimidate us.
Okay.
Is that right, Will? When I'm intimidated?
I mean, it's right on my end. I can't speak for you.
Oh, okay. So let's start with something that's not related to the church at all. Well, not related directly to what we're talking about this evening. So what are you guys missing most because of COVID? What's the biggest void in your life that COVID has caused?
Why don't you go,
Mike,
Laurie?
question. Go on, don't be quiet.
You know, when you're semi-retired and everything can switch easily in terms of meetings and stuff to Zoom, I can say that I'm very blessed to not have really huge changes. I guess the thing that I miss the most is just being able to be with somebody physically in person and just look them in the eyes and be three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional.
I spent my whole life that way, Laurie. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Mike, how about you? What do you miss the most?
Pretty much the same. Just being able to just go do what I want when I want. Go to the library, go to get coffee with friends. Just not sitting underground in my COVID Zoom bunker.
Yeah. So let's get right into it and talk about the ministerial search process. So how about one of you reminds us briefly about the process today? And I do mean briefly. I know we had a congregational conversation about this a week ago Sunday, and we had some time this past weekend with Keith Cron. And I assume a number of the people who are with us this evening, who are our attendees, were at one of the other of those. So I don't want to go into mega detail here, but briefly, what's the process been? And then I guess I'd ask the question about, has this been more or less complicated than you originally envisioned it to be?
I'll go ahead and start, and Mike can chime in with anything that he thinks is important to add in. The process is really kind of two parts and almost in half. And the first part has all to do with us really understanding who we are presently. So we did a survey, which many of you remember, and we did cottage and focus group meetings where we Zoomed together and entertained 3 different questions that were targeted to help us really fill out who we are and to be able to respond to our 90 some item congregational record that we have completed, including all of that information, doing the Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop. I think we all learned a lot, those of us who participated in that. And now our record has been released to the potential ministers, and drum roll, on January 2nd, the ministers who are interested in us will indicate so on the UUA platform so that we can look at their ministerial record. The search committee is then going to huddle a lot and spend a lot of time and effort, but you're not going to hear a lot about details of it because of the process needing to be confidential until we get to the one that we're ready to present. Hopefully we will have one that we feel is an awesome match and we're very excited about. And then that will take until sometime in April and May, and then you'll hear a whole lot more about that. So I'll stop there and let Mike add in what he'd like to share.
Yeah, Mike. So unfortunately, Laurie used up all the brief time, so you got to be really brief.
Yeah, that was about it.
So, Mike, what surprised you positively about the process so far? What's been the good news about this process so far?
So you were kind of asking like what was harder or more complicated? I don't think it's been that complicated.
Yeah.
It's actually gone pretty smoothly. It's been a lot of work, but it's gone pretty well. And it's I wouldn't say it's a well-oiled machine or system, but it's, you know, we're not the first people to do this, and it's very doable. And it's been really more enjoyable than I expected. Not because I thought I'd hate it.
So the surprise has been that you've enjoyed being around your fellow congregants. Okay, Mike.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I'll make sure I keep that quote for the post show article for the newsletter. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Hey, Will, you had a couple of questions from Mike and Laurie. Why don't you ask those right now?
All right. So if one of you would like to, remind us again of the members of this task force.
Ooh, I'll try, Laurie.
Oh, wait.
So,
wait.
do you have a list?
Right here.
Oh, who's that?
Oh, Laurie came prepared.
In alphabetical order, Laurie Albright, Dawn Arrington, the fabulous Dawn Arrington, the wonderful Amy Collins, the magnificent Mike Miller, the fabulous Meg Pauken, the amazing Lou Alsa, and last but not least, the lay minister that we have heard from a long time, Mark Weber. 7 of us.
Laurie, I concur. I agree. That's all of them.
You got to be quicker than that, Mike. She came prepared. All right, so now let's go do a little bit of a lightning round so we can get a little flavor of the team. So which task force member generates the most laughs from the group?
Lou.
As expected. And how much does Mark Weber talk about Nubs, the barber of his youth?
Oh, he hasn't talked about that, but it seemed to show up a lot in the survey with a lot of people's responses.
They wanted Nubs to be our minister?
Maybe there were just a lot of duplicates from Mark.
Hey, free haircuts during service. You can't beat that. And which of the task force members is most likely to throw the next toga party?
I'd say Dawn Arrington.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Or Michael Jr.
Oh, that'll be an interesting toga party to say the least.
So what popped out most to you guys about what you've learned about our congregation, for good and for bad? Don't be shy about either side of this. So Mike, what popped out that was good news, and what popped out you went, I'm not so thrilled about that?
So 2 sides of the same coin. I was really surprised with how coherent and consistent everybody seems to be. We have a lot of shared values and things. And that was really great to see. And I realized that we're all completely different. So it was really hard to, there's no one person, there's no one way to describe one of us.
So Will, I want to point out to you, Will, that Mike is surprised that our congregants are coherent. Let's just be clear about this. Audience, remember that as well. Our good news is that very low bar that at least we can be coherent. Laura, anything you want to add to that?
Just that we love our community. And one of the things that came out really strongly is that we want to collaborate with our minister. We really want it to be a partnership. We really want it to be co-creating into the future together. And I guess the last thing is that we're kind of paradoxical. We're really open and interested in new ways of doing things and set in our ways. Those kinds of things happened a lot. We're not all one, but we love our community.
So Laura, you mentioned this before as well. We've heard a lot about this packet that's developed for the UUA, basically our congregational profile. So in your estimation, what will a ministerial candidate see in our packet and say to themselves, geez, I really want to check out UUCC?
Well, first of all, we're unique in where we are as in reunifying in that whole process. And that can be a bit difficult to explain. You know, the kind of smart tagline on that is that we're one of the newest congregations in UUA land with a really 150-year long history. I think that if a minister is looking for a strong group of people that wants to really work together to actualize our strategic plan and hear what the minister has to say about moving forward, that we will be very attractive. I think if a minister is looking for some place to come in and, you know, be the head person of everything, that's probably not going to be such a good fit.
So I was going to ask, so Mike, how about the flip side of all this? So what's a ministerial candidate going to see in our packet that will give them pause for thought?
They might wonder what we are talking about when we say, oh yeah, we've been around for 2 years. And then they're going to say, but you've been around for 150 years. You know, on paper, it looks kind of weird. And maybe they'll have pause just because we, you know, really clearly said we're kind of not done. We're reunifying or merging or coming together, and it's really incomplete.
So how tempted were you to see some of those things that might give somebody pause for thought and think, maybe you ought to just leave that out. Maybe we ought to just kind of kick it to the side like that dead mouse in your basement.
Not tempted, I would say. And we're real intentional about that. What we want to be is authentic and genuine and show people who we are and find the right fit. And if we were tempted to sweep something under the rug, we would, I think we weren't particularly tempted, but we were very conscientious about not doing that. And I'm seeing the chat, David. Have you really never taken care of the dead mouse? Somebody else does that, the Morse?
So not in my prior lifetime, I took care of mice all the time. In this lifetime, I don't take care of mice. I am more of a Batman. So the reality is that in this lifetime, in my current lifetime, I don't do much with mice, but I have been somebody who has taken care of multiple bats in both in my home and in others. In fact, others have called me the Batman. It's pretty scary.
You know, we did not put that in the congregational record, but I suppose there are probably bats up in the attic somewhere. Just imagine with an old building.
And if they're there, I'm your man. And of
All
course,
right.
if I can't handle them, I have my companion Robin to help me out with them. So, how about if you guys? I'd like you guys both to answer this one. I'd like you to manage. You didn't talk about this much during the congregational conversation. You just kind of alluded to it very, very briefly. I want you to manage our expectations. Should we anticipate that we're absolutely going to have a called minister for the upcoming congregational year? That we're likely to have a minister, we're unlikely to have a minister, or we're going to have to get very lucky to have a new minister called for the next year? What do you guys think? Putting you guys on the spot. And I heard all this that Keith said, I know it, blah, blah, blah. But now you're on TV. Now you have a choice of either being a real waffler or giving a straight answer about something, which of course neither one of you guys ever does about anything. So what do you got to say about this?
It's clearly more likely than not that we will come up with a great match. For those who attended the Beyond Categorical Thinking this weekend, Keith Cron was pretty clear about that there's many more ministers in search than there are congregations that have places for folks to go. So it's kind of a buyer's market. I think he said something like 2/3 of those in search are on the younger side, which could be very attractive for us. But, you know, if we don't find the right person, we have shown that we are a congregation that can function and pull it together for however long we need to until we come up with what's going to be a really good match to go forward into the future with.
We can do that because we're paradoxically coherent, I understand.
Yes.
Absolutely. Under pressure, we can become coherent.
Yeah.
And
Mike,
the fact is, we don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah. The
So,
crystal ball is a bit dim.
So we're going to say goodnight to Laurie for this evening and spend a little bit more time with Mike to ask him a few questions about Mike. But don't worry, everybody. For those of you concerned about Laurie will be back sometime in March for her own very personal grilling that night. So everybody, let's unmute and give Laurie a special UUCC round of applause. She's going to stay with us for the next segment, but she's going to mute herself right now and disappear for the time being. Thank you, Laurie.
Bye, Laurie.
Woo.
Okay, Mike, now you can't hide behind Laurie, so now we're going to ask you a few questions about you.
Now I can tell you the truth.
Well, you know, she might still be around somewhere, and I think she knows where you live. So let's go back to the beginning. By the way, Mike, before we get going here, do I understand that we have some of your family members in the audience tonight who basically are taking notes to spread out to the rest of your family after you lambaste them up and down?
I think so. My wife and dog are upstairs, and I think my sister and brother were here.
Are they still here?
I see them in the names. Yep, that's Andrew.
Andrew Miller says he's here.
Yeah, and Karen Miller is there too. Both
And
from
Karen
Minnesota.
Well, hi guys, glad you're here tonight. So
hello everyone.
I'm David Kantor, and basically I promised everybody that I would not give Mike any softball questions here. And I basically have some very ugly pictures of Mike to basically guarantee he'll say very mean things about you guys now. So we're going to get started at the moment. So, yep. Mike, I want to go back to the beginning. Where were you born? How big was your family? What do you remember most about growing up? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I was born in Chicagoland, west of Chicago, in this what used to be the distant suburbs, but now are the suburbs.
Which suburbs you grew up in?
St. Charles.
St. Charles.
Yeah. And my sister is about 3.5 years younger than me. And I was actually born a few minutes after the nurse told the doctor that he wasn't done, because my brother was born like 12 minutes before me.
So you're a twin.
Just before ultrasound, so we were surprise twins.
Mm. And did your mother go, "Oh, thank you," or did she go, "Oh"?
You know, I don't remember, but she was probably okay with it. She pretended to be.
Well, you were there.
I remember somebody like an aunt or a grandma saying, "Oh my gosh, oh wait, it'll be okay. Martha can handle it." At least that's the family story. Oh, and Andy just said he went to KSU, to Kent State, in the chat.
Oh, that's pretty groovy. Shout out to the Golden Flashes.
So Mike, so as you were growing up, was there a religion of choice in your family? Were you guys spiritually oriented? How did all that work out as you were growing up?
We were Lutheran, and my mom was a preacher's kid. Her dad was a minister in a number of places, but mainly in Chicago. And then I think they moved around the country, but so there was a kind of a Lutheran streak in the family.
So where'd you go to school? How did all that work out?
I went to school in St. Charles, and then I went away to a college in Minnesota. And then I went to grad school in Madison, Wisconsin.
Did you go to the University of Wisconsin in Madison?
The University of Wisconsin, Madison, yes.
As our Big Teners, people who are followers of the Big Ten, there's only one university that starts with a "the" and is the Ohio State University.
Okay.
Let's be clear about it. the University of Wisconsin. It's the Ohio State University. Will, you had a couple of questions you wanted. That's a correct response, Mike. Will, you had a couple of questions you wanted to ask Mike. What do you want to ask about?
Yes. So growing up Lutheran, that's a stark contrast from being a UU. So how did you find Unitarian Universalism, and more specifically, First U?
Well, when I was in college, I kind of quit religious stuff. I consciously said, I'm not doing this. And then when my wife and I got together, we were living in central Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and we're trying to figure out a place to be. And we went to the UU church there for a little while. We actually got married in that church.
Okay.
And then when we moved to, eventually a couple of cities later, we moved to the Cleveland area, and here we are.
All right. And what appealed to you about this religion and our congregation here?
Well, I still have a little trouble with the religion part of it.
As we all
So
do.
maybe that was part of what appealed to me. I tell you, the first thing that when we first went to a service, it was summertime, and there was a cellist as a soloist, and the music was really a hook. It was a real draw.
All right.
And the people, it was the connection, the search for community.
All right. So now I heard you mention your wife and you both discovered Unitarian Universalism together. So how did you end up meeting the marvelous Jean Miller? And how did you convince her that partnering with you was a good idea? Don't get mad at me. David wrote this in the script. These are my words.
I have to be real careful because Jean's listening too. So I met Jean when I was in grad school in the physics department up in Madison, and she worked in the physics department. And a mutual friend introduced us, and we started dating. And then when I left to take a postdoc down at Champaign-Urbana, we were like, well, we could do the long distance thing or not. And so we decided, let's keep going. And she came down there, and after a year or two, we got married.
All right.
Yeah. Seemed like a good idea.
You never answered the question, Mike, about
how
you possibly convinced her to want to partner with you.
What?
Well, I rest my case. Exactly.
His good looks and charm, of course.
Yeah.
So what? So Will, the check's in the mail for you? Is that what he told you before?
Yeah.
That information is confidential.
That's right. She seemed to be willing, so pretty fortunate on my side. I'll tell you that.
I would say that you probably got the better of. No, not probably. You got the better of that.
Absolutely.
So two people would know. So Andrew and Karen, so if you could just either go off of mute or just chat with us. Who got the better of that deal, Gene or Mike?
Mike. No hesitation, huh?
No, yeah. One word. I would say to the point.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Yeah.
That's okay.
Jean's hanging in there. She plugs along through all across the country. It's all good.
Well, so now congregants, now you've heard it all. And Jean, we're hoping that you won't hold this over his head now. Not as public as this. I figure his public humiliation is enough for that for this night. So, Mike, so as I understand it, you're in the process of a midlife career change. So what were you doing before? What prompted the change? What are you moving into now? Talk about that with us for a little bit.
Well, for most of my life, I did science. I studied physics in grad school, and then I worked in academia for a few years, and then switched into medical research. And I was doing medical imaging research in Indianapolis, and then moved here to Cleveland about 10 years ago. I guess that's sort of, that's strange.
Yeah, right.
This year has kind of completely scrambled my ability to tell what year it is. That calendar that Jack talked about, I need that. But
yeah.
And then worked for a company making medical imaging equipment. And one of the things I'd thought about over the years was working more directly with people, but I was not at a place where I was ready to do it. And then lots of things happened with the company I was at, a lot of changes, a lot of things getting moved around. Well, I know it's still physics. Absolutely. Medical physics. Absolutely. And I loved what I was doing, but the company changed and the job changed and things were shipped out overseas. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And I realized that I was at a point where I could make a career change that I was kind of too afraid to do in the past. And so I switched, and I'm studying to get licensed as a clinical mental health counselor, specifically to work with people around trauma. And
really needed.
There we are. So it's a little bit of a career change, but it makes sense if you know the story.
Well,
Yay!
and plus, obviously, being a member of our congregation really is great preparation for that in any case. So
yeah, exactly. I could just tell there's a screaming need.
Our audience tonight, I did not say that. Mike did. I want to make that very clear.
For those that aren't coherent, there's
that's
hope.
right. If you're not paradoxically coherent, never mind. So, Mike, I'm going to ask you one last question. So, actually, I have two last questions for you. So, if you've got some downtime, what are you going to do? You're going to read a book? You're going to watch a movie?
Probably read a book.
So, what are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm actually just about done with a book called The Gradual by Christopher Priest. And,
so what is that book?
So he writes kind of weird, no, I shouldn't say weird stuff, interesting, strange stories. And this is one about a composer who lives in a country and then he goes and travels in the islands and he finds lots of interesting things about himself and music and how people, it's actually really hard to describe. I recommend it. I won't call it science fiction because I don't think it is, but maybe it fits into that category. He wrote The Islanders too.
Audience, it's hard to describe and it sounds maybe kind of science fiction-y, but go for it tomorrow. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Mike, last question for you. So, and it's the last question we ask all of our guests, and you've been in the audience many times before, so you know what the question is going to be. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
To fly.
Tell us why.
I have these persistent recurring dreams all my life where I kind of like just fly up in the air. The weird part of the dream is that it's always hard to come down. And I'm like, how do I get down? And so in the dream, there's like, oh, I'm trying to get on top of that building or something, or miss that tree. But that's my dream, to be able to.
So gravity's not working for you very
control my flight and be even better.
So, okay, gang, we're going to take a brief break to get your questions from Mike or Laurie or any of us organized. If you have a question, please do not be shy. Use the question and answer button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and ask it. Please do not use the chat button. We don't go there. We'll get things organized for you to ask your questions when we return. But first, our mid-show break with the song Revolution by the Beatles. See you in a few.
Tell me that it's evolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world. But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out? Don't you know it's gonna be all right? All right. All right. You say you got a real solution. Well, you know, we'd all love to see the plan. you want money for people with minds that hate, all I can tell you is, brother, you have to wait. You know it's gonna be alright. 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 Constitution, well, you know, we all want to change your head. You tell me it's the institution, well, you know, you better free your mind instead. But if you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't gonna make it with anyone anyhow. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? Alright. Alright.
And that was Revolution by the Beatles, in case you didn't recognize it. That band, the Beatles, I don't think they're ever going to make it.
I don't think so either.
So, Mike, are you ready to take some questions from the audience?
Sure.
Okay, so why don't we get ourselves started here? Let's see. First question is from Terry Robbins. Terry, you're on with Mike Miller.
Hey, Mike Miller. I am a University of Illinois alum.
Oh.
So I know about Champaign-Urbana. So did you live in Champaign or Urbana?
We lived in Champaign for a while and then in Rantoul.
Oh, Rantoul.
Way up north.
Oh, yeah, I remember. So my other question is really, okay, your favorite pizza place, Papa Del's or Garcia's?
Ooh. Well, it's been 20 years.
Yeah, right. Well, it's been
but
many years for me
I
too.
think maybe I remember Papa Del's.
Yeah, that was my favorite too. Yeah, had to go with it. The thick crust.
Yeah. When we moved there, people said the day will come when you're driving on the highway and you think you see a hill, and when you get closer, you'll realize it's an overpass over the another road, and then that happened to us.
Right, it's the flattest place forever, and I had the same experience. I grew up in Connecticut where there were hills, and I never been to a place where you could turn around and never see anything taller than a short tree. I mean, it's
or the grain silo. Yep.
It's just flat. Yeah. Anyway, good times.
Yep.
Next question is for Mary Schatzman. Mary, you're on with Mike.
Okay. Mike, this is actually a search committee question.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you guys gotten any feedback, maybe from the UUA transitions office or anybody else, that we might be at a disadvantage as a congregation for not taking an interim year and jumping directly from one settled minister to potentially another settled minister? How's that?
Good question. So I think we didn't necessarily hear anything specific. However, we kind of have a contract minister now. So we jumped from one congregation with an interim and another congregation with the settled to a reunified congregation after 70 years with a contract who already knew us.
Right.
And so it's a unique situation. And I'll tell you, from what I can tell, there's no normal, like standard search. It's always different. So, you know, I haven't heard anything like, oh, that's a problem or not. So I'm
Very
not
nice.
too worried about it. I don't know if Laurie is still there and if you could chime in.
Laurie?
I think Mike characterized that extremely well. I think given our unique set of circumstances, it's not going to be considered a negative or a positive. And I'm echoing exactly what he said. So no additional information to add other than I think the Christine Purcell is our transitions person from the UUA, and she likes what we have put together. She thinks we're an attractive congregation. So
before we go to the next question, a plea to our producer, Carol, can you please enable my video? So I'm told I can't get back to being visual. Next question is from Liz Kantor. Liz, your question for Mike Miller.
So Mike, you mentioned that you moved around a lot. What's your favorite place that you've lived?
Oh, well, I really liked Madison, Wisconsin. But in thinking about, so I grew up in Illinois and then I went to college in Minnesota and grad school in Wisconsin. And then I lived in Illinois, in Indiana, and now Ohio. And I finally sort of figured it's kind of Great Lakes is the common denominator.
So have you had any yearning to live on either coast, one way or the other, either East Coast, West Coast, down south somewhere?
When we moved here, the company I came to work for said you can live here or we could move, and I could have worked from San Jose, California. And it was a no-brainer. We'd rather stay Midwestish, and a lot because it's closer to family and a lot because it's unimaginably cheaper to find a place to live.
It's true.
So I'm guessing that you would have to answer no to Dionne Warwick's question about, do you know the way to San Jose?
I guess I know the way, but I didn't at the time.
Allison Bastion, you have a question for Mike. You're up.
Oh, yeah, Mike, hi. I was wondering, how long have you and Jean been married?
Since 97.
Okay.
So 23 years.
Congratulations.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Hi, Jean. Yeah, September 97.
Well, you guys are a great couple and two of my favorite people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Allison's got low standards, Meg. Let's be clear about this, but never mind.
Hey, take what you can get.
Well, she tells me I'm one of her favorite people also, if you want any idea about it. There you go.
Hey, is Laurie's camera turn-onable, or is she still there?
Well, she's not going to tell you how long you were married.
Well, there she is. No, I was just wondering, because there are questions for Laurie too, maybe.
Okay, Laurie, how long have you been married to Jean? I'm just curious. So Liz Kantor has another question for you, Mike. So Liz, what else do you want to ask Mike?
So you or Laurie, I don't remember which, mentioned that the candidates in the ministerial pool are on the younger side. So when we say younger, are we talking closer to Will's age or closer to my dad's age?
Now, do you mean, just to be clear, chronological age, not maturity, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Ouch.
I
think
to my dad's age or to Will's age.
So from what Keith was saying this weekend, it's really pretty broad. There are people who are new to the ministry, and I think the bulk of the ministers who are searching are relatively new to the ministry. But I don't know that that means that they're all like Will's age. And you're like 32, right?
I don't know. Ask my mother.
I was gonna say, I remember when you were not 32. But so maybe, I don't know, Laurie, if you remember the statistics, the best answer is, I don't know. And one thing that Keith did say is we really won't know who's searching and who's applying until everything gets sorted out in the beginning of January. So it's a little bit of an open question.
Because the other thing for me is it's good to sort of have a sense of what the pool is, but really we just need the one person. So maybe there's a whole bunch of people who are new in ministry. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people that are very experienced in ministry, but the only one that matters is the one we want.
You only need one, right?
Yep.
Only need one. Yep.
Absolutely.
Like all the job searches I've been involved in my career with people I've been looking for, only need one.
Only one.
So Jack Ullman, you have a question for Mike. What is it? Jack? Maybe Jack doesn't have a question for Mike.
He might have disappeared.
Maybe it's just trying to tease us. In the meantime, Mary Ellen McNulty, you have a question for Mike.
I'm sorry. I just unmuted. Wrong button, sorry. Mike, Gene forbids me from discussing this with you, but I'm several states away, so I feel safe. You notice that David Kantor, Mike Miller, Mark Weber, and Jack Ullman are all addicted to murder mysteries and happen also to be the 4 brightest men in the congregation?
Correlation does not imply causation, but it might be a clue or a hint.
Well said.
And I know that you got me hooked on the Sanford novels, which for my Minnesota relatives is about a Minnesota detective. So
I've read those.
Yeah. Have you? Great.
Yeah.
Those are pretty violent novels.
All small towns in Minnesota have a barber like Nubs and all kinds of murderers and things.
They have a barber like Nubs. They also have a psychopathic murderer, serial killer. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Those long, cold nights in winter.
You can get cut 2 ways. You never know.
So let's be clear, everybody. So be careful when you're around Mike with nobody else there and he's eyeing that pair of scissors. Let's be very clear about this.
Because Jack got me those ideas in my head.
Last question will come from Mary Ellen McNulty. Mary Ellen, you're up.
Oh, wow, that's an honor. So I don't know if it's Mike or Laurie. Pick one. I'm wondering if in our congregational survey, we had a wide enough variety of respondents from young members, older members. Our church skews older. Did we have enough respondents from the young families and young adults without families yet to make it so there was a coherent picture?
You want to tackle that one, Laurie, or shall I?
You're the survey man.
Yeah, I'm the survey coordinator. I think, as I said before, there was a coherent picture. And I didn't really mean I was surprised by it, but I was pleased to see that the story sort of held together and that we weren't surprised by a lot of things. The age does skew towards older,
right?
Like most UU churches.
Right.
And the age distribution, and in the full survey report, there's a histogram because I'm a data nerd. And it's kind of bimodal. There's a bump of younger people in their 20s for sure.
Right.
And we did hear from a lot of them. We heard from about 19 families as well.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. I was concerned and I wanted to make sure that they had their say.
I think they did.
Did those who were from the younger bump have a relatively consistent story from what you heard from the others in the congregation who may have skewed a bit more mature?
One of the questions that I remember, or one of the responses, was that
Hi, Brian.
Oh, hey, Brian. He just stuck his head in there for a minute.
Yeah.
Was something like, and Laura, you might remember this, it was there was a expression of trust in the grown-ups from the youth that I felt was very heartwarming and a responsibility, but a statement like, we kind of know what we want, but we haven't done this before. So there was, I would say that's kind of was an expression or the way that some of the intergenerational good stuff manifests in the congregation.
Well, I'll just say, speaking for myself, that if they have that trust in me, that it's clearly misplaced, but okay.
So Will, is that how you would feel? You have trust in us?
I mean, I would hope I'd be able to trust you guys.
Okay. Just wondering. I haven't seen you for a bit, so I was just wondering.
I would say that if there was only one group of age cohort to sell our congregation, it would be our youth. They are the ones who participated are really high on our congregation, and not, surely they're teachers, but they feel that the adults in the congregation are really cool and trustworthy and non-judgmental, and really appreciate that.
Good to hear. So we're going to wrap up our Q&A right now. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Laurie. Each episode right around now, as you know, we read your emails and texts with your comments, questions, suggestions, and stories. If you have something to share, please send it to pregnant pause. Zoom-In at uucleveland.org. Again, that is Zoom-In at uucleveland.org. And of course, as I mentioned before, we're not above a little bribery to encourage you to share your thoughts. So each show will select somebody from the folks who send us a note, and the winner will receive their very own UUCC Zoom-In Live mug. See mine basically disappearing and coming back. Liquid is not included, so of course, you'll never know what I'm drinking at this. So we had a few comments from our last show here. First one came all the way from Pasadena, California, from our former member and president, Maureen Harrington. Maureen said, David, that was great, meaning the November 23rd show. Sorry it took us so long to make it happen, but now that we have, we shall see you again. From Kathleen Binnig about how she celebrated Thanksgiving. Besides enjoying the UUCC Zoom Thanksgiving evening, it was not the show, it was a Thanksgiving celebration. My sister in Denver organized a Zoom meeting that fit into the time schedules for my brother's daughter and son-in-law in London, England, my brother and sister-in-law in Florida, and Mark and me, my sister and family in Denver, 2 nieces in California, and our son, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter in Portland, Oregon, and a partridge and a pear tree. I made up that last part, sorry. And Kathleen actually attached a picture also. What a lovely family you've got there, Kathleen. Last one came from Don Stimper. Don said that Jackie and I had a traditional feast with our 2 local children and the families, but this year was outdoors. Our son-in-law set up a few propane heaters. It was still chilly though. And I think that the tryptophan works double in the cold. We went home at 6 o'clock and I promptly fell asleep. So just reading what he said. So Kathleen, you get this show's mug for a great email, great, terrific family photo, and the music video as well. So Kathleen, you set a very high bar for future shows, and we thank you for your contributions to this evening.
Yay, Kathleen.
So Mike and Laurie, thank you for being here tonight to discuss ministerial search. And Mike, special thanks to you for sharing your journey and insights with us. Will, what about our next show?
All right, y'all. So for the next show, you guys are in for a treat. So the next show will be our holiday edition with 2 most special guests, Jenna Bradbourne and yours truly, both the co-hosts to this show. And we will get to see how David does with us 2 carrying him throughout this program.
Thanks, Will.
No problem.
I love it.
Let's give a major league round of applause to Carol Gay, our producer. As I say each show, Will and I do the easy stuff. Carol, things actually happen, so thank you, Carol. We're wrapping up now, but if you'd like to catch up with your fellow congregants, there's a link in the chat function to a UUCC Zoom room. No host, no guests, just a chance to chat with your fellow UUs. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks on December 28th, the next edition of UUCC Zoom-In Live. So we're going to leave you tonight with a Mike Miller selected song called Take Me to the River. This is the live version by Talking Heads. The recorded version is nowhere near as much fun as this one. So Will and Mike, say goodnight to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much. See you in a couple of weeks, everybody, on UUCC Zoom-In Live.
Bernie Worrell. Jerry Harrison. Edna Holt. Lynn Mabry. Chris France. Steve Scales. Alex Weir. Tina Wayman. Take me to